to Cuba here in League A Group B. It is the group stage finale in League A Group B tonight. It is 83 degrees inside the Dwight Yorke Stadium. Sean St. Jacques, our entire crew, thrilled to have you along for the ride tonight. And we take a look at the Group B standings in League A. A lot of different scenarios for Cuba and Trinidad and Tobago tonight. To put it succinctly, Trinidad and Tobago could get relegated to League B tonight if they don't win this game. Only a win would see them safely stay in League A, and on top of that, qualify for the Gold Cup prelims. Cuba has a bit of a higher ceiling here tonight. There is still a scenario where Cuba could qualify for the quarterfinals of the Concacaf Nations League and make it into a big-time Cup quarterfinal. However, they need results in the two other games that will kick off simultaneously with us to go their way. We'll talk more about that after we get to the anthems, the lineups, etc. But as far as these two teams are concerned, of course, they just met last week. It was a wild game, an entertaining game, and a game filled with quality goals as well. A 2-2 draw was the final score, and because of other results elsewhere, Trinidad and Tobago now know they can't qualify for the quarterfinals, but they can still qualify for the Gold Cup prelims if they can beat Cuba on home soil here tonight. A lot of different scenarios. We're going to be scoreboard watching. It's just that time of the year in the CONCACAF Nations League. A lot of different scenarios, not just for Cuba, but some for Trinidad and Tobago as well, that we'll make you aware of as we get goals and scores in from the other games tonight. Jamaica will be playing Honduras as this game is going on. Nicaragua will be playing French Guiana. French Guiana still have a chance to avoid relegation, so both of those games are worth keeping an eye on as this match day moves on. All three games will be kicking off at the very same time. We'll step aside for a moment. You just saw the pictures there a second ago. We'll get to the possessions in just a moment. Then the anthems, then the lineups, and then the highly anticipated kickoff and rematch between Trinidad and Tobago and Cuba.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the national anthem of Cuba. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the national anthem of Trinidad and Tobago.
wonderful rendition of both countries' national anthems. Good crowd still filing in here at the Dwight Yorke Stadium at Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago will be in red tonight. They'll have the black shoulders, and Cuba will be in white with the red trim as well for this pivotal Concacaf Nations League group stage finale between two teams that just met a few days ago. Just the second all-time meeting between these two in Nations League history, but they have plenty of history outside of this Concacaf Nations League competition. And we'll see how both teams get on tonight. Derek King's starting 11 for Trinidad and Tobago in a game they have to win to avoid relegation. Alvin Jones, a notable in the defense. Andre Rampersad played really well in the game last week. But of course, you look at the likes of Jovan Jones, who scored a wonderful goal in the previous fixture against Cuba. He will certainly be one to watch for them tonight, for the Soca Warriors, as they're known. Aubrey David, the captain for Trinidad and Tobago, meets with Michael Reyes, the Cuban captain. And of course, it's a Guatemalan officiating crew led by Brian Lopez, our head official in the middle of the park. Cuba's starting 11 under Nianlis Castillo looks like this. Rico Rosarena again gets the start in goal. Orlando de la Cruz, Daria Morajon, and of course, Carlos Vasquez, all players to watch in defense. Michael Reyes scored a wonderful goal in the previous fixture. Dairon Reyes and Yasier Matos will be players to watch in the attack. Cuba played really well at times in the Trinidad and Tobago final third in the prior meeting. But again, both teams had to settle for a point. Alongside Jamaica, Cuba are the only other undefeated team in this group. The downside is there have been all draws, 3 draws out of 3 to be precise to this point in the competition. If they want to have any chance at making it into the top 2 tonight, they have to win this here in Trinidad and Tobago and hope that they can get some favors elsewhere. And again, we'll dive in a little bit more on that after the kickoff. And again, for Trinidad and Tobago, it's a little bit more simpler for them. They cannot get into the top 2 and advance to the Nations League quarterfinals. However, they can still avoid relegation and qualify for the Gold Cup prelims. A win is essential for Derek King's side in order to achieve that. Anything less than a win, and Trinidad and Tobago will be relegated to League B. Of course, there is a scenario where Cuba could finish the night relegated as well. A Trinidad and Tobago victory would lead to that. And it could potentially do other teams like Nicaragua and Honduras a bit of a favor in the other games going on. That'll kick off right alongside this one here in Trinidad and Tobago. Again, Sean St. Jacques, our entire crew, thrilled to have you along with us tonight, and we are underway from the Dwight Yorke Stadium. Trinidad and Tobago will be kicking from left to right. Cuba, through Rico Rosarena, get the first touches on it. And the visitors in white are quickly in possession. Now, we had a thriller of a 2-2 contest the last time these two met, less than a week ago. And we expect more fireworks here tonight. Derek King, in his pre-match thoughts, laid it all out. What Trinidad and Tobago have to do tonight, it's win or get relegated. Again, for Cuba, there is a pathway where they can get into the top 2, but they will need Jamaica to do them a favor against Honduras, and they would need French Guiana to do them a favor against Nicaragua. Those are the other 2 games that have also just kicked off. Pair those 2 up with a Cuba win and some tiebreakers going their way, and it could be a very memorable night for Nianlis Castillo's group. But I must say, a lot has to go their way. Sent ahead by Rico Rosarena, was well placed. Falls kindly for Karel Perez. and it goes to the edge of the Trinidad and Tobago penalty area. There was a little bit of a coming together there, but the Soca Warriors come out with possession. Here is Alvin Jones. Plenty of experience in his career. Of course, played for Police FC in the Concacaf Caribbean Cup, although unfortunately for them, they were not quite able to qualify for the semifinals. Turnover high up the field here for Cuba. Junior Perez lays it off. This is Matos. Matos was very active in the first meeting back in Cuba. Morejon will switch the point of the attack. Maybe some time and space here. Peñalver was a decent attempt to thread the needle into the penalty area. Given away to Matos. Can Cuba pounce on this opportunity? Matos again. Given goes on the near side. Karel Perez forced to retreat, but Cuba keep possession. Perez tries once more. Plays it centrally for Dairon Reyes. Again, it's well placed to the edge of the penalty area, but it's a clean challenge from Trinidad and Tobago. And Andre Rappersad leads them up the other end. And Nathaniel James, who could be a difference maker tonight, wins a throw-in for Derek King's side. Well, for those that have followed this group in League A of the Nations League, Trinidad and Tobago's biggest issue has been consistent goal scoring. Their only 2 goals in the group came in the last game these two played. Other than that, they have not been able to scratch across much. That's going to have to change tonight. And for Cuba, you can look back at their games so far, and yes, it was a 2-2 draw last time out, but overall defensively, Yunelis Castillo's group has been able to hold their own. It's just been about a similar problem. Consistency in the final third. They've only scored 1 more goal than Trinidad and Tobago in this group. The difference is that Trinidad and Tobago has conceded 3 more than Cuba have. It's actually kind of fitting that Cuba have conceded 3, they've scored 3, and they've wound up with 3 points through their first 3 group stage games to this point. What's so wild about all of it is Cuba could end up being the only unbeaten team in the group. That's a scenario that could play out tonight, and they could still miss out on going on to the quarterfinals. That's how cruel the beautiful game can be at times. They would avoid relegation with a draw. That's also worth mentioning. Although I should add, that is pending the French Guiana-Nicaragua result. And sent into the middle here. It's headed to the near side. Perez tries to pick it back up, but Trinidad and Tobago had it won back only for a moment. Cuba have it back again, and Matos is taken out. It's going to be a free kick, and Alvin Jones not happy with the referee's decision. He's going to have to be careful with the choice of words. Matos did well to swoop back in and keep the Cuban possession alive. And, well, maybe Alvin Jones had a little bit of a point based on that look, but referee gives a free kick, and Yunelis Castillo has something to work with here inside of 6 minutes. Early defensive duties here for Trinidad and Tobago. 4 in the wall. Multiple candidates for Cuba to take this. It's going to be either Matos or Dairon Reyes. It's Dairon Reyes right into the wall. Matos recovers. Bending one back into the penalty area. And there's going to be a free kick in there as Jovan Jones actually had it covered. Heading it back to Adrian Fonset, who has the start in goal this evening. Denzel Smith, the goalkeeper who started the first meeting between these two a few days ago, did pick up a few bumps and bruises, and wonder if that's the reason Fonset has been given the nod tonight. Can't take any chances with Trinidad and Tobago's League A status in jeopardy heading into tonight. Rampersad nearly lost out. It's well recovered by Jovan Jones, who plays a good ball in behind. And it needed to be touched by Karel Perez. Although I don't think he was the last one to touch it. Referee gives a goal kick. Shannon Gomez convinced that Trinidad and Tobago should have had a corner for Derek King's side. Of course, Derek King is a former Trinidad and Tobago international as a player, and now hoping to, at the bare minimum tonight, keep Trinidad and Tobago in League A moving forward and get into those Gold Cup prelims. Of course, Trinidad and Tobago were at the last Gold Cup, but to be fair, they were there to make up the numbers when the teams had to drop out. They filled in. They were given a very tough group, I must say, to fill in. They're with the United States, at the time were the defending champions, and their Caribbean rivals, Jamaica, were also in that group as well. St. Kitts and Nevis were the fourth team. Ball is bent down this near side, and it's well placed here for Gomez. Gomez! Oh, he tried to shoot and score, but he hits it into the side netting with the angle against him. Well, I think Shannon Gomez realized that he didn't have too many options, and, well, he nearly turned nothing into something there, but I must say I think Arozarena either way has that covered, and again, to be fair to Gomez, there really weren't many other options in that particular sequence. He's going to be a player to watch tonight. Shannon Gomez had some real positive impact in the first meeting between these two countries. Maybe one too many touches there from Tyrone Reyes. Andre Rampersad is trying to move it up the other end. He's dispossessed. Enrico Arozarena resets, plays for Las Vegas Lights in the U.S. Second Division, the USL Championship. It's been a historic season for the Lights. He'll have a lot to look forward to when he gets back to Dennis Sanchez's squad in the western part of the United States. Lovely little turn off the interception by Rampersad. Could be a chance here for Trinidad and Tobago. They have the numbers. It's played out to the far side. First time ball across, headed away by Junior Perez. And there was a real marauding run forward. Long distance shots. He's seen fizzed past Arozarena. Well, there's some positivity from the SoCal Warriors there. Nothing to trouble him, but something to build on. Long distance shot came in from Noah Powder after a good couple of marauding runs forward from the hosts here. That's our first chance to have a glance at the other scores. It's all 0-0 across the board. And Jamaica are playing Honduras. Nicaragua are playing French Guiana. Should mention that there is a scenario where French Guiana could avoid relegation tonight. So again, all three games are worth keeping an eye on. And the table could look very different at the end of the night than compared to where it began 11 minutes ago. But as far as this game is concerned, Cuba would stay in fourth. They would get to the Gold Cup prelims and they would stay in League A. Trinidad and Tobago currently, of course, would be relegated to League B. Which I must say, that would be a pretty big disappointment for Derek King's group. They did get, you look back at their runs in the Nations League, Trinidad and Tobago were relegated in their first season in the Nations League down to League B, but they immediately bounced back up. And last season, won 3 of their 4 games in League A. So if they don't make it this time around, it would be a bit of a letdown for this group. Interestingly enough, Cuba have been on a very similar trajectory. Began in League A in the first season of Nations League. They were relegated with 4 straight defeats in their first season, but they bounced right back up with 5 wins out of 6 in League B. They've been in League A ever since. And now then, Trinidad and Tobago are in behind here. Oh my! It's a marvelous opening goal! The Soca Warriors jump out in front. It's Dante Gilbert with a classy finish. It's a goal that would see Trinidad and Tobago avoid relegation. But at the moment, it gives them a 1-0 lead. Oh, look at that. There was a little bit of a hint of offside on that ball in behind. Remember, there's no VAR to go back and check it. It was tight, but take nothing away from a little bit of a scooped finish from Gilbert. And Trinidad and Tobago get the perfect start inside of 14 minutes. Brilliant goal. And it ends up being a goal that puts Cuba in the relegation zone as it stands right now. Long way to go, but that's the first big twist of the night. Remember, Trinidad and Tobago, even with a win, cannot make it to the quarterfinals. They can't catch Honduras and they can't catch Jamaica either. However, the Gold Cup prelims would be a heck of a consolation prize for them. And you need players to step up on nights like this. Well, Dante Gilbert, maybe not the first on the list, but I'll tell you what, he's got his name up in lights right now. Wonderful little dink. And Trinidad and Tobago were in charge at the beginning of this one. Just their 3rd group stage goal. And here's Jovan Jones. Oh! Not far away. He scored a marvelous goal in the game in Cuba a few days ago, a chest and a volley. He went for something just as difficult there. But it flashes past a Rosarena's post. Now that goal could be a big spark for Derek King's side. On nights like tonight, you want to get off to a good start, and Trinidad and Tobago have officially gotten that lift-off moment. Can Cuba respond up the other end? Challenge was clean from Justin Garcia. And the hosts retain the possession on the near side. Powder. Garcia resets to Fonset. Fonset plays through the pressure to find Powder. Powder's pass was a little bit off the mark. It will allow Cuba to get the possession back. Tried to find the goal scorer, Gilbert, but it wasn't quite on target. Both teams are also looking for their first win in the Concacaf Nations League this time around. And what that win could do is really what the two teams are playing for tonight. It's got that cup final kind of feel, even though there's no guarantees that Cuba, the only team that can get to the quarterfinals, will get there. But again, What's facing Cuba right now is possible relegation if they don't find a response. Long way to go, however. Here's Diaz, who had a really strong game last time out in the Nations League, and it's going to be kept in off the intervention from Andre Rampersad. Here's Karel Perez. He tried to find Daniel Diaz. It's over his head, and Cuba will settle for a throw-in on the far side of the pitch. Throwing right into the penalty area it goes, and it's a volley. Junior Perez blocked away. On the follow-up, couple of clean challenges. Trinidad and Tobago will get the ball on this near side if they can keep it in. But even the pace of Shannon Gomez, not enough. Cuba gets the ball back. Matos making some headway. Lovely give and go. And Matos' touch was a bit too firm. Cuba keep the possession, only for a moment. And they'll settle for a throw. Michael Reyes had a real chance to make something happen. Alvin Jones is the one that clears it away for the moment. Tyrone Reyes trying to slide it through. Ross Russell Jr. on the cover. He was a substitute last time out, but played really well. Actually helped to set up the Jovan Jones goal that gave Trinidad and Tobago a lead in the second half. And that turning shot is held onto by Adrian Fonset. Ooh, ball up ahead here. Flag stays down for now. Well swept up by Raiko Arozarena. Our goalkeepers really can't make any missteps in moments like that, in any game really, but especially a game with so much riding on it like this one. And Raiko Arozarena got it spot on for Cuba there. For Trinidad and Tobago, it's just their second home game, of course, in this group. The other was a 0-0 draw here against French Guiana. It's a result that really Trinidad and Tobago have not been able to make up for ever since. They've been behind the 8 ball since they dropped those points, and they could save themselves a League A spot and get into those Gold Cup prelims if they can turn it all around tonight and win this game. And again, they've already got the opening goal to work with. As we saw last time out, between these two, Trinidad and Tobago had the lead twice. Cuba pegged them back both times. That's going to be a foul. It's a free kick for Trinidad and Tobago. Jovan Jones was fouled. Now the local heavy challenge from Morejon. Now we do have an update from one of the other games. French Guiana have scored against Nicaragua. They lead by 1-0. The significance there is that Trinidad and Tobago are now up to third. That's the highest they can finish in the group. French Guiana would avoid relegation in fourth. At the moment, Nicaragua would be relegated. Cuba would be relegated in last place. Long way to go, but again, on a night like this, worth keeping those things in mind. Still 0-0 between Jamaica and Honduras, who who would both, of course, move on to the quarterfinals. If it stays like this, Jamaica would win the group on 8 points. Honduras would go in second on 7 points. The only way one of those two teams would be in jeopardy is if Cuba and or Nicaragua were to come back and win. Then it could get a bit juicy at the top. The foul's going to go against Nathaniel James, and it's a Cuba free kick. And James, I think, extended his elbow there. I don't think he meant to do that, but the referee was right there and saw the contact. Goal from Dante Gilbert has Trinidad and Tobago ahead. It was a lovely finish, scooping it over the goalkeeper and using the post to ricochet it into the back of Cuba's net. And again, if it holds, Trinidad and Tobago would stay in League A and they'd qualify for the Gold Cup prelims. Work to do for Cuba. Matos will take the free kick. It's already getting a little bit testy as it did in the first meeting between these two, and part of that is the familiarity. The other part is because there's just so much on the line. There's some desperation about this one. At the moment, it's mostly on the Cuban side of things, knowing that this result cannot stand. That nearly slipped in behind. Trinidad and Tobago want a free kick here. Or looks like they are going to get one, and a yellow card is going to come out as well. Carlos Vasquez is booked. And it's for that challenge. Oh, and the holdback. That is what leads to the yellow card. James was being held back, and the referee had no choice. So that's a bit of a worry for Cuba early on here. One of their best defenders have to manage that booking the rest of the night. At least the rest of his time out there on the pitch, and well, the battle between these two continues. Referee didn't like something that Nathaniel James said. Wants to make sure that nothing boils over. Vasquez has to be very careful. Doesn't want to pick up a second yellow. And from the free kick, oh, Rampersad was unmarked and onside inside the penalty area. And luckily, from a Cuban standpoint, they were able to get a header onto that. He was wide open. A great run from Rampersad, and it forces it to be played out for a corner here. Can Trinidad and Tobago double their delight here? 25 minutes gone in the first half. Set pieces, I must say, have been a place where Derek King's side have been trying to improve in this tournament. And the ball was whipped in there. Oh, off the fist of Arozarena. Needed to make sure there that he got a touch. Aubrey David, the captain, is able to keep the possession alive, and he's bundled over by Orlando De La Cruz. So it's going to be a free kick. David tried to turn it back, and the slightest bit of extension, I think, is what leads to the referee putting the whistle to his lips. Luis Castillo, can't blame him. Already feeling a little bit of the nerves here. I can't imagine that the coaching staff are looking at other scores as Alvin Jones took out his driver but cannot keep it on the fairway. It's a goal kick. And rightly so, Derek King not thrilled with one of his better players' decision-making there. Game like this, you want to create as many high percentage opportunities as possible, and well, we all know that Alvin Jones can strike it, but even the best players are not going to always hit the target from that distance. will say at this standpoint in the live table, a goal between Jamaica or Honduras, it's 0-0 there, could potentially leave one of those two teams on the chopping block if, it's a big if, one or both of Nicaragua and Cuba can come back and get a lead. Then things would get nervy at the top for those two teams, but for now, they're both in very good shape in the live table. And again, then you're looking at potential matchups with the U.S., the two-time defending champions, I should say three-time, beg your pardon, defending champions. And of course, you also look at the likes of Canada, Mexico, and Panama all waiting in the wings as Trinidad and Tobago play their way through. Here it's Joven Jones, and my goodness, he scored again against Cuba. Well, this fantastic start for Trinidad and Tobago has just gotten even better. And Joven Jones has scored twice against Cuba in as many games. The Dwight Yorke Stadium erupts as Trinidad and Tobago leap out in front with a 2-0 lead, and it's an excellent finish from Jones. Had it lined up the whole way, and he beats Rosarena to double Trinidad and Tobago's delight and make it double trouble for Cuba as far as the table is concerned. The Soca Warriors are in complete command.
Ladies and gentlemen, that goal was scored in the 28th minute.
Well, his goal last time out against Cuba was of the highest quality, but this one means even more than that one. Trinidad and Tobago, as it stands, now very safe from relegation, and Cuba in big, big trouble. Well, the visitors now have to score twice at a minimum to make sure that they don't get relegated. I must say, the more that they concede as well, it could hurt their chances of getting into the top two because of those tiebreakers as well. So the longer this stands, the chances for Cuba are less and less. That's going to be played out. It's going to be a corner for the hosts, who just continue to ask questions of the visitors. Well, there's still an hour to go, but you're already starting to see the nerves set in a bit from the Cuban contingent. I'm not sure Derek King, when his head hit the pillow last night, could have dreamt up a better start. Cuba had a couple of good moments in the first 5-10 minutes, but ever since, his team's been on top, and they're looking for more here. Alvin Jones went for the spectacular. Challenge comes in, it goes the opposite way. Well, there was a brief hint that Trinidad and Tobago are going to be asking for a penalty there, but the foul's gone against them instead. Another look. Oh, I think that ends up being just about the right decision. Karel Perez gets enough of the ball, and Cuba just about get out of that situation without a scrape. Alvin Jones went for a sidewinding volley before any of that even happened. Would have brought the house down here if he had scored that. But Trinidad and Tobago are starting to really get the confidence flowing. Gilbert and now Jones. And it could be another one here. It's James who shoots. And again, the angle was against him, and Rosarena has it covered. Well, now every time the Soca Warriors get the ball, they look very dangerous in Cuba's half. Near side, Perez. That's given away. There was a shirt pull in there. Referee lets it go. Little dink in behind. And it was a chance to play it across. It's blocked. And it may have come back off of the goal scorer, Dante Gilbert. I think the referee pointed, at least initially, for a goal kick. That could have been another big chance for Trinidad and Tobago. I do hesitate to say this a little bit. Oh, Rosarena nearly was caught off guard there. But Cuba are already a little bit on the ropes here. Luis Castillo's side need to be brave over these next 13 minutes plus, or they could be in a heap of trouble. This is probably the best we've seen Trinidad and Tobago play all Nations League. Early ball in, looking for Jones, headed away. And Cuba are able to reset the play in possession. Ross Russell Jr., of course, linked up with Jovan Jones to score a goal last time between these two, earlier last week. That's a giveaway. Shannon Gomez picks it off. He's brought down. And Karel Perez commits the foul, and he'll be lucky to escape a yellow card. In fact, he won't. But to be fair to him, if he didn't make the challenge, Trinidad and Tobago had the numbers up the field. Now the look, great anticipation by Gomez, and well, that's a yellow card all the way. Shirt pull on the hip. Set piece for the hosts upcoming. The yellow card very much confirmed. Well, Trinidad and Tobago looking to really put a stamp on what's been a really strong first half. Jovan Jones leaves it for Alvin Jones. Decent ball in. It was headed away by Vasquez. Not the best of communication there between Vasquez and Rosarena. It's out for a corner. On top of what's been a great first half for Trinidad and Tobago, they've had a wonderful atmosphere at their back in this first half as well, providing the soundtrack to this Nations League encounter. From the corner, it's a high arcer. Free header as well! And there was a little bit of a push from Rampersad. Great header from Aubrey David back across. Really smart play. But the foul was committed by Rampersad before anyone in red could get on the end of it. Cuba survive again. But as soon as I say that, Alvin Jones wins it back for Trinidad and Tobago. 10 minutes left in the half. Noah Powder runs into his own teammate, but the play continues, and it's clipped over the top to no one in particular. And it's a bit of a waste at the tail end of that, I think from Nathaniel James, who didn't quite pick his head up before playing the pass. This game has just been going to the beat of Trinidad and Tobago's drums at the moment, quite literally. Cuba struggling to keep up in these last 25 minutes. And the hosts are on the prowl again with James. Sliding it through, it's Jovan Jones. He rounds the goalkeeper. Clips it back across, but the ball went out of play before he found Gilbert in the middle. And actually, it might have even been a moot point before that. And that's the reason why, great look by our crew, Jovan Jones was offside. So even if he had managed to keep that in, it would not have counted. Flag had gone up. Cuba continued to live a bit too dangerously at the back. This was the challenge just after that, as Justin Garcia was brought down. Well, to be fair, Trinidad and Tobago had some really good moments in Cuba, but Cuba always managed to find a response. They've not been able to do that yet tonight. And now Alvin Jones already looks like he has his sights set on goal based on that look. That's exactly where he wants to place it. It was sliced through, but it came up short, of course, I should say. Here's Gomez. Couldn't find Jones, nearly found James. But Cuba get the ball back through Perez. Can the visitors attack here in transition? They can't. It's great anticipation by Ross Russell Jr., but then he gives it away. Tyrone Reyes looks to bring Cuba up the other end, but his dink over the top is too close to Fonset. And it's a Trinidad and Tobago reset. Little dink up ahead. James gives chase. Nathaniel James cutting it back. And still, oh! Was it touched by a Rosarena? It was tough to tell. It was moving, that strike, from right to left. Looks like a goal kick was the decision. Well, Nathaniel James was not far away regardless. Angle against him. What a Rosarena may very well have gotten a touch onto that. Well, Cuba get the break on that one, and they get possession back, but great strike by James. Well, for the first time in a while in the Nations League, it does feel like Inelise Castillo's side need halftime, and they need it very, very badly. Still 6 minutes plus stoppage time to go. Cuba very capable, of course. They're still getting back into this. But they haven't had a sniff of the final third in quite some time, and they keep giving the ball away, which is not helping. They're bailed out by Rampersad's poor feet up ahead. Turn there from Daniel Diaz. His pass was blocked. And the goals from Gilbert and Jones, Jovan Jones to be precise. Oh, that's going to be a takeaway. A Rosarena's off his line. It could be three, but a Rosarena saves. And keeps Cuba in with a puncher's chance. Andre Rampersad could have pushed Cuba towards the relegation exits there. Will we come back to that moment if the game turns? That was a huge opportunity for the Soca Warriors to get a huge step in the right direction towards safety. Cuba come up the other end, decent effort. Fonset fields it off the bounce. Well, Andre Rampersad, maybe not the player you'd think as far as a player that would be a goal scorer there, but one-on-one with the goalkeeper, I think Derek King and his side will have expected a bit better. Either way, it's a missed opportunity. Rosarena keeping Cuba's heartbeat alive with that save. Possible handball appeal in there. Cuba were certainly asking the referee. Nothing came of it. Jovan Jones keeps it going up the other end for Trinidad and Tobago. Here's Gomez. Gomez thinks better of it. There's help behind him in the form of Alvin Jones. Gomez will have to settle for a throw-in. Just to the left of Yunelis Castillo, the Cuba head coach, trying to keep his team engaged, keep them encouraged. Still time for Cuba to maybe try to get one back and get some kind of momentum going the opposite direction before the halftime interval arrives. Ross Russell Jr. Oh, and the referee actually got in the way of Andre Rampersad, and he couldn't get to the ball. And Rampersad, I think, actually gave the referee a little bit of a push here. This was Rampersad's earlier moment. That was a huge chance, but a big-time kick save from Arozarena. And a good job by the referee there to give Trinidad and Tobago the possession back. And now James is in behind here. Nathaniel James! Oh, it's just wide. Arozarena was beaten that time, but Nathaniel James could not hit the target. Another chance to put Cuba in a very, very tough spot. First Rampersad, and now James, and I'll take that back. I think Arozarena actually got a touch on that again. And a corner will be next. Cuba's Nations League lives here, at least in League A, are flashing before their eyes here over these last 10-15 minutes. They're very lucky to only be 2-0 down. It's headed centrally here. There was some pushing and shoving, a little bit of pulling as well, as Justin Garcia tried to get ahead onto that. Referee's decision is a goal kick. Well, I wonder if the referee thought it was a mutual pull between both players. Remember, there's no VAR to go back and check something like that, so on we play. Tyrone Reyes out to the far side. Well, Daniel Diaz skipping past the initial challenge, but then gives it away to Jovan Jones. Nice reverse ball by Jones in the middle of the park for Powder. Trinidad and Tobago at times have been wonderful with their interplay in this first half. Jovan Jones continued his run, and he'll get on the end of this. Oh, lovely skill from Jones there, a little flick. Can Jones finish? Oh, he was close. Well, Jovan Jones takes out his magic wand with that initial little flick to get past the challenge. A little bit of magic and fairy dust to get into the penalty area, but could not hit the target. And we're into one added minute at the end of the first half. Well, Cuba having trouble keeping up with the Joneses right now. Jovan in particular. Peñalver for Reyes. And Tyrone Reyes, well, you rarely see that from him. It's a collector's item. A miscued pass. And there's still about 20 seconds for Trinidad and Tobago to come up with another moment here. Well, the crowd here at the Dwight Yorke Stadium have been treated to a wonderful first half. Garcia plays it back to Fonset. Fonset will send it upfield, and the first half ends here in Trinidad and Tobago. It couldn't have gone much better for the Soca Warriors. Opening goal from Dante Gilbert, and then it's been the Jovan Jones show ever since. Scored one, could have had a couple more, and frankly, Cuba are very lucky not to be 3 or 4-0 down at the end of the first 45 minutes. The visitors are not out of this yet, but they really need a big turnaround in the second half in this Concacaf Nations League group stage finale. At the half, it's Trinidad and Tobago 2, Cuba 0. Now moments away from the start of the second half here between Trinidad and Tobago and Cuba. Sean St. Jacques, our entire crew, happy to have you with us. It's a Concacaf Nations League, League A Group B finale. And the hosts, the Soca Warriors, Trinidad and Tobago, are in control with a 2-0 halftime lead to work with. Again, the way the table looks right now, 1 and 2, of course, would not be changed. Jamaica and Honduras would go to the quarterfinals out of this group. Trinidad and Tobago would finish in 3rd place and make it to the Gold Cup prelims. French Guiana would finish 4th and do the same. Nicaragua and Cuba would be relegated to League B if everything stays the way it is right now. Looks like both teams will be unchanged at the start of the second half. Same 11s for both. And Cuba have to score at least 2 goals without reply if they're going to change their narrative here tonight. And again, we'll be keeping an eye on the games between French Guiana and Nicaragua, which is at 1-0 to French Guiana. And the game between Jamaica and Honduras, it's 0-0 there, as the games all kick off simultaneously at the start of the second half. Cuba are in white. They'll be going from left to right here in the second half. Trinidad and Tobago, for those just joining us, are in red with the black shorts and the black shoulders. Goals from Dante Gilbert and Jovan Jones have Derek King's Trinidad and Tobago side in complete command. We'll see if Yunelis Castillo and his side could use halftime to help them turn things around. Initial ball into the penalty area there, headed out by Aubrey David. And then Trinidad and Tobago will get a free kick. And again, the last time these two met last week, Cuba were down 1-0, they were down 2-1. They came back and got a point and almost came back to win it. Have to do it this time, down by 2. And on the road in a very tough environment. It's been a wonderful atmosphere here at the Dwight Yorke Stadium throughout the entire game to this point. There's Tyrone Reyes, certainly capable of helping Cuba change the tide. A chance to move this down the far side with Karel Perez. He gets past Alvin Jones, but can't get past Aubrey David. Junior Perez for Cuba. Ball is bent into the penalty area. Ooh, wasn't that far away. A thumb goes up from Daniel Diaz in appreciation of the service, but it's a goal kick in the end. Remember, Cuba got off to a good start at the very beginning of this match. Could they do the same at the start of the second half and maybe get something on the scoreboard? 2-0, of course. 1 goal could still very much change how this game ends. That's a giveaway to Cuba here. Diaz. And not the best of back-heeled attempts, and Trinidad and Tobago win it back. This is Gilbert, the goal scorer, and, well, he's got time and space to run into here. Gilbert cuts it back. 2 defenders on him. Gilbert looks for the angle. Skips past a couple of challenges to keep it going, and then it's given away. Cuba can bring it up the other end. Alvin Jones trying to stop the advances of Matos, and a team effort. The challenge from Noah Powder sees the Soca Warriors pick it back up with Andre Rampersad. This is Garcia. Good ball up ahead to Jovan Jones. And Jones, was he fouled? Referee lets play continue. For now, Jovan Jones has stayed down for Trinidad and Tobago, and he might be in need of some assistance. Another look. Did his ankle maybe move a little bit there? Tough to tell, really. There wasn't a ton of contact, but that doesn't mean that Jovan Jones isn't hurt. Well, And there's one or two players for Trinidad and Tobago signaling that there might need to be a substitution on hand here. Well, Jovan Jones has been Trinidad and Tobago's best player in this game. Derek King, of course, would not want to take him off if possible. Remember, Jovan Jones was arguably Trinidad and Tobago's best player in the first game between these two last week. Scored a goal then, scored a goal tonight. Almost scored another, of course. With a look at the challenge, I'm not sure there was any contact with Orlando De La Cruz. If it was very faint. And sometimes the non-contact ones are the more worrisome challenges. Jovan Jones is back up onto his feet, but having a tough time putting weight. Of course, Trinidad and Tobago 2-0 up. A big reason why was Jovan Jones's goal. 28th minute, sliding it underneath Raiko Arozarena. And that really put Trinidad and Tobago in complete control. I think it's the right leg that Jovan Jones is just having trouble putting weight on right now. And, well, unfortunately for him, that is going to be that tonight. Wow. Jones is out. Real Gil will take his place. Real Gil plays in USL League One, third division of American soccer for Northern Colorado Hailstorm. Well, that is a big loss for Trinidad and Tobago with still 40 minutes remaining. Well, can the others help to pick up the pieces and get this victory over the line? Remember, Trinidad and Tobago have to win this to avoid relegation. Any other result, and they would be demoted to League B. That's worth keeping in mind as the offside flag ends up going up here. That's well spotted by the assistant on the near side. It goes back to Trinidad and Tobago in possession. This is Russell Jr. Not on the same page with Justin Garcia. Tyrone Reyes tries to get in behind, and Russell Jr. does clear it in the end. Rampersad wasn't fouled. Play continues here, and Aubrey David, the captain, forced to step in. He's tripped up. Bit of a frantic sequence there. When the dust settles, it's a free kick for Trinidad and Tobago, who made life a little bit more difficult on themselves there than they needed to. Challenge came in from Daniel Diaz. You wonder if Diaz didn't put in that challenge, would Aubrey David have been able to move it forward? There were still two Cuban defenders in front of him. Ends up being a little bit of a bailout there from the visitors. Aubrey David did have to take charge there, the captain. There was a couple of misplayed passes in the build-up to that moment. Russell Jr. Was he fouled? No, I think the referees brought this back. It's a Cuba free kick. And it nearly went up the other end for Trinidad and Tobago. Arozarena under pressure has to clip it away. De La Cruz. Lovely ball down the line. Orlando De La Cruz continued his run. Ball into the middle. Fonset. Oh, got a touch on it. And luckily, from a Trinidad and Tobago point of view, there was no Cuban attacking players around to pick up the pieces. Adrian Fonset did not catch that cleanly. I must say, just by Jovan Jones leaving, there's already been a little bit of a shift in the momentum. I wonder if Cuba maybe even taken that as a sign of, well, toughest player we've had to deal with is now off the pitch. Let's give it a go. Real Gil looks to move Trinidad and Tobago up the field. Touched off of Gomez, or at least away from Gomez, and will stay with the hosts. Still 1-0 to French Guiana against Nicaragua. Still 0-0 between Jamaica and Honduras in the other two Group B fixtures happening alongside this one in League A. Approaching 10 minutes gone at the start of the second half. Tyrone Reyes is fouled. It's a free kick for Cuba. De La Cruz. One goal for Cuba. That's all it takes. We could be looking at a very different game in the second half, but can they get it? Remember, the halftime stats showed you that Cuba hadn't registered a shot, let alone a shot on target. That could change here. Oh, just in front of Daniel Diaz. Wow. If he had gotten any touch onto that, Adrian Fonset had committed, and Trinidad and Tobago could have been in a very difficult spot. Garcia gives it away. Little slip there. Michael Reyes plays it through. Laid off by Tyrone Reyes. Could be a chance for Cuba, and the shot is going to be curled wide of the target. It's a goal kick. Matos taking aim. But some positive signs for Yunelis Castillo's group. Even the bench looks a little bit more encouraged. Remember, in the live table, not only would Cuba be relegated to League B, they would finish bottom of the group. How fitting is it that Cuba have to come back and get a draw in order to stay in League A? They've had 3 draws already. They're going to need a 4th to survive, at least a 4th, if not a victory. And again, the more the minutes tick by as well, Cuba's chances, even if they do come back, of getting into the top 2 are becoming lower and lower. As you look at Jovan Jones, who may not be the happiest man right now, even though he had a brilliant first half. Not able to continue on, unfortunately, in the second half. That's a giveaway by a Rosarena. And Trinidad and Tobago can get it back in possession to Alvin Jones. Now Garcia. And Garcia with a misplaced pass. Well, I think it's no secret the last few minutes since Jovan Jones left, Trinidad and Tobago have lost a little bit of a step here. They've been a bit out of sorts at times. Fonset plays it ahead. Could this be the door slightly ajar for Cuba to walk through? Will Trinidad and Tobago find their swagger again in this second half? It's good hold-up play from Gilbert. Gilbert will be asked to do a little bit more work here, and he clips it up ahead, but it's given away. And then the second ball was nearly won by Powder, followed up on by Gomez, and then Shannon Gomez does commit the foul. It's a free kick. Karel Perez able to win the Cuban set piece. We get a second look at it, and that's the left boot of Gomez that just, well, basically upended Perez. Daniel Diaz needs a second or two. Cuba not going to waste any time. They get the ball right back rolling in the opposite direction. De La Cruz. Still, De La Cruz ran out of space. There's plenty of time and space for Gilbert up the other end. And he plays the early ball in behind. Flag stays down. Nathaniel James is dispossessed by Morejon. And then a coming together on the near side here. Rampersad got the worst of that. Hear the crowd reaction as well. Another look here. Oh, and it was a shoulder. I don't think De La Cruz meant that, but Rampersad ran right into him. Heavy collision. Derek King is saying there should have been a foul. He was right there. The concern now is whether or not Andre Rampersad needs some attention, and does Derek King have to maybe think up of another change out of his back pocket if Rampersad can't continue? It's a bit of a good news, bad news situation for Cuba as we look at the last opportunity for James. He was well onside. James just not able to get past Morejón, who comes up, I should say, with a huge defensive intervention for Cuba. As Rampersad continues to be looked after, it's a possible head injury. Went through the protocols there. Just to finish the point, it's a bit of a good news, bad news situation for Cuba. The good news is they've gained a little bit of the momentum back at the start of the second half. They've looked the more likely to score in the second half. The bad news is they haven't scored, and they only have 30 minutes left, plus stoppage time, to get 2 goals. And the chances they have created have really only been half chances. Daniel Diaz wasn't able to get a shot on target, and Adrian Fonset did fumble, or at least miscue a touch earlier, but Cuba did not pounce on that opportunity. The next step for Inelise Castillo's side is to get a shot on target, and they might get one here. It's going to be headed away just in the nick of time. And then the whistle will end the sequence. Rampersad looks okay to continue. He wins a free kick for Trinidad and Tobago. David out to the far side. Alvin Jones will clip this ahead. Looking for Nathaniel James. Carnal Perez is there to handle it, and it's a Cuba throw on the far side. Tyrone Reyes trying a little give and go. But Aubrey David is there, and Trinidad and Tobago can, again, try to put some passes together and use up some clock if they choose to. Gilbert did well initially there, but he's given the ball away. Cuba could be in behind here, but the flag is up. Offside is the decision. And Michael Reyes, he's trying to score a second goal in as many games against Trinidad and Tobago. It was tight, but it looks like the referee on the near side, the assistant referee to be precise, made the right decision. Could be a giveaway here. Michael Reyes plays it across for Tyrone Reyes. It's a layoff, and Cuba are back in it. Yasnier Matos gives Cuba a huge burst of life. Is that the moment where the turnaround begins? It's 2-1. Cuba needs one more to avoid relegation. And the few Cuban supporters in the Dwight Yorke Stadium are the ones you can hear over the drums. Well, it's a brilliant bit of build-up. Michael Reyes did the hard work. Unselfish play from Tyrone Reyes, and Matos breathes new life into the Cuban cause here. 2-1, and Cuba are right back in it, just like that. And Trinidad and Tobago are all of a sudden starting to feel the pressure themselves, frankly. Can't say that hasn't been coming. To be fair, I believe Matos' goal is the first shot on target, and maybe even the first shot that Cuba have had tonight. Trinidad and Tobago left the door open, and Cuba could come back and salvage this. Now it's Derek King's side trying to handle a sucker punch here. Can they bounce back? There is a goal in another game that we'll tell you about in a moment. Russell Jr. clears it out. It's a throw-in for Cuba. The goal we could tell you about is that Nicaragua have equalized against French Guiana. It's 1-1 in Managua. So Nicaragua jumps back into third place. Trinidad and Tobago in fourth, Cuba in fifth. Nathaniel James leads Trinidad and Tobago up the other end. The hosts are in, goalkeepers rounded, and all of a sudden, Trinidad and Tobago restore their 2-goal lead. Real Gil, who replaced Jovan Jones, has scored. And all of a sudden, order is restored at the Dwight Yorke Stadium. It looks like Gil was just about even, and he finishes brilliantly. 3-1 to the Soca Warriors, and Cuba have to do it all over again. Trinidad and Tobago have now scored more goals tonight than they've scored in the rest of the group stage combined. Could that be the moment where Trinidad and Tobago keep their League A status and punch a ticket to the Gold Cup prelims? Back up by 2, 25 minutes to play, and how important is that contribution from Real Gil? Jovan Jones's exit is really what caused Cuba to start their comeback attempt. But the man who replaced Jovan Jones is the man to restore order for Trinidad and Tobago. Huge moment. And Cuba need 2 more goals. And Trinidad and Tobago maybe smell a little bit of blood in the water. Oh, just off of the defender with James lurking to get in behind 1v1. It's opened up here though for Cuba. Tyrone Reyes trying to slide it through. It's touched away and cleared away. Offside flag is up, and it's a free kick for Cuba. Well, it looks like there's been another goal in the Nicaragua-French Guiana game. French Guiana have taken the lead again by 2-1. If that holds up, Trinidad and Tobago would go back into third place and they'd be safe. French Guiana would also be safe. And we're back to the halftime scenario, which is Cuba relegated, Nicaragua relegated as well. Still 23 minutes and stoppage time to play. De La Cruz, good run. Trinidad and Tobago still had to deal with that. They'll clear it out, and it'll be a throw-in on the near side. By the way, Jamaica and Honduras still at 0-0. Maybe they're just wanting to let the chaos happen elsewhere, and if it stays 0-0 there, neither side is in any jeopardy of dropping out of the top 2. The Reggae Boys and La Ache would both move on to the quarterfinals of the Nations League. No questions asked. Ball in behind here. Oh, lovely touch here. Oh, but a brilliant save by Bonset to deny Daniel Diaz. Diaz may have taken the worst of it on the follow-through. That's the biggest save Adrian Fonset has made tonight. Cuba nearly finding a pathway back a second time. Lovely touch from Diaz. And ooh, was there contact on the challenge from Garcia? Again, no VAR. Now, Trinidad and Tobago may very well have gotten away with one there, but referee says goal kick. De La Cruz. Ooh, back across, touched away by Alvin Jones. Diaz. Jones's header. Garcia just about passed that away. And now a chance to break up the other end. Nathaniel James, lovely skill. He looks to dart away. And he's brought down. It's a free kick. Oh, and referee comes over. I was just going to say who made the challenge. Karel Perez. He's already been booked. Karel Perez is going to receive a second yellow. And Cuba are going to be reduced to 10 men with 20 minutes to play. Karel Perez has been sent off. Doesn't get enough of the ball, at least based on the first challenge. Oh, definitely does not get any of the ball on the second challenge. I should say the second look of the challenge. And the referee really had no choice, had the perfect view of it. And after Cuba, maybe could have had an argument for a penalty at one end, they're reduced to 10 men at the other end. Karel Perez will have an early shower here tonight, and you start to wonder, is that going to be the nail in Cuba's coffin? Time will tell, as Derek King, he's readying some changes here. 3, in fact. Isaiah Lee, Tristan Hodge, Michel Punangaron are all going to come on in one foul swoop. Looks like Ross Russell Jr. He's the first player to come out. I think Dante Gilbert, scorer of the first Trinidad and Tobago goal. Yeah, Gilbert is out as well, and then the final one is Nathaniel James. Quick recap of all that. Ross Russell Jr., Nathaniel James, and Dante Gilbert are all out. Isaiah Lee, Michel Punangaron, and Tristan Hodge are all on for Trinidad and Tobago. And that leaves Derek King's side with just one change remaining as we approach the final 18 minutes. And all 3 players that came off got a wonderful standing O from the Dwight Yorke Stadium faithful. Well, Cuba down to 10, and then Trinidad and Tobago saying we'll also bring on some fresh legs on top of that. Alvin Jones will stand over the ensuing free kick. A chance for the Soca Warriors to slam the door shut. Jones into the middle, oh, it was flicked on, saved by Arozarena. Not cleared yet. I think that was Rampersad who got a boot onto it. It was a cheeky, and I must say, very smart little flick just to put it into the middle. But Raiko Arozarena again keeps Cuba alive for now. The 10 men still have to score 2 goals if Cuba are going to stay in League A. Well, down 2 and down to 10. Inalise Castillo's side have their work cut out for them, but again, it is the Nations League. Anything can happen. Trinidad and Tobago still have to see this out. And Alvin Jones helps the cause by winning a free kick and letting a few more seconds tick off the clock. To be fair to Cuba, there's still 17 minutes plus stoppage time to go. How important is that Real Gil goal looking at the moment, by the way? 2 goals seems a lot more insurmountable than just the one. And now, the Soca Warriors can have a chance to really wrap this up. Gil with the layoff. Well, Noah Powder is convinced he was fouled, and he actually has some words for Peñalver for the challenge. Inalise Castillo knows his team is running short on time. But of course, we know Cuba are not going to give up until the final whistle goes. They've had a wonderful campaign. They do not want to let it slip here, but they are running low on time. Free kick there. It's going to go Cuba's way. Tyrone Reyes out to the far side. Final 15 minutes. Good run by Matos. He scored once already. Tyrone Reyes, can he provide the spark? Near side De La Cruz. Clipping it. Oh, an overhead kick comes in. Not enough contact on it, but it's not cleared yet. Back in. Oh, was headed down. It trickles out of play. It's a goal kick. Well, Vasquez doing everything he can to try to find somebody, and then it was Daniel Diaz on the overhead kick attempt, but he couldn't quite square it up to give Fonset any trouble. Couple changes here for Cuba. Peñalver and De La Cruz are going to come out. Elvis Casanova and Diego Carasus is going to come on. Double swap. So actually the first two Cuba changes of the night. And again, remember, Cuba are down to 10 men because Karel Perez was sent off for a second yellow card that, of course, turns into a red for his challenge earlier in the second half. Just to reset the scenarios here, Trinidad and Tobago, if it holds, will finish in third. They'll get into the Gold Cup prelims. They'll maintain their League A status in the Nations League. Cuba would be relegated down to League B, and they would miss out on the Gold Cup entirely, at least as it stands. Challenge came in there. Tyrone Reyes pleading his innocence. Tristan Hodge asked for a free kick there. I think he's been obliged by the referee. Another look. Reyes certainly made contact. It does go Trinidad and Tobago's way, nothing more than a free kick. And Fonset is forced to play a poor ball onto this near side, gives it right back to Cuba. Daniel Diaz into the middle, and David gets a touch onto it, then it's cleared away by Punangaron. Derek King does not want to see his side leave the door open again. We know Cuba are going to keep on pushing till the very end. Matos denied there by Alvin Jones. The great crowd here want to see their Soca Warriors get this elusive Nations League win. And Trinidad and Tobago cannot get into the top two spots for the quarterfinals, but they're currently sitting as high in the table as they could finish. French Guiana, by the way, are still leading against Nicaragua. That would leave them in the Gold Cup prelims, and they would also avoid relegation. And in the end, the two teams that could have caught one of Jamaica or Honduras could be the two teams that end up being relegated tonight. it could end up being a very cruel twist of fate. Both of those two teams could see the quarterfinal still out there just about for the taking, but could end the night relegated, although Cuba still are not going to give up. Michael Reyes was wide open, really, but the Cuban captain couldn't make the most of it. More signs that Trinidad and Tobago have not exactly locked this one down yet. Well onside, just needed a more accurate finish. Reyes scored a wonder strike against Trinidad and Tobago in Cuba last week. Not able to repeat the trick with his head. Throw in for Cuba, ticking down on the final 10 minutes at the Dwight Yorke Stadium. Again, the goals from Trinidad and Tobago scored by Dante Gilbert and Jovan Jones, who have since left us. Real Gil, who replaced Jovan Jones, scored the third goal. Yasnier Matos gave Cuba a huge jolt earlier in the half, made it 2-1. But then Gil restored order shortly after that, and then Cuba were reduced to 10 not long after that as well. Pressure here from Trinidad and Tobago. It's forced all the way back to Arozarena, who's kept Cuba in it, frankly. Made some big saves to even keep his side hanging around in this one. Remember, it could have been 3 or 4 at the half. Cuba managed to just about hang on. Got back to within 1, of course, but then Real Gil's goal for now has kept Cuba on the outside looking in. And Yunelis Castillo is preparing another change. We'll get to that at the next stoppage. Tyrone Reyes played in beautifully at the edge of the penalty area. First time ball back across. A couple Cuba players were queuing up. Touched away from them. Recycled by Canasus and bent right back in. And another header that just goes out of play, this time from Daniel Diaz. Well, just like in the first game, the likes of Diaz and Tyrone Reyes, Michael Reyes, Matos, all trying everything they can to make up the difference. That's actually going to be the last act for Daniel Diaz. His night is done. And the man who equalized late on for Cuba against Trinidad and Tobago last week, Aniel Casanova, is going to come on for the last 8 minutes. Could he be a late difference maker again? From the restart, Rapersad onto this near side, Tristan Hodge. Could the Soka Warriors finish this off with a 4th? They'll have a throw-in to work with, just to the left of their coach, Derek King. Not quite job done yet. You could tell by his reactions there. Have to be on it to see it out over these last 7-8 minutes. Plus stoppage time. There's been some injury stoppages in this half, so we're expecting at least some minutes to be added on at the end. Tyrone Reyes. Well, looks like there's been another goal. And once again, it's in the Nicaragua-French Guiana game. That game continues to seesaw back and forth. Nicaragua have equalized. Looks to be 2-2. And they have about, well, let's say 8 or 9 minutes to go there in Managua. That goal puts Trinidad and Tobago into 4th, Cuba into 5th. Doesn't change the relegation side of it for these two teams. French Guiana now would be relegated. Nicaragua would join Trinidad and Tobago in the Gold Cup prelims. Some step-overs there from Casanova. Touched away from him by Tristan Hodge. then the ball pinballs around. Trinidad and Tobago will keep it. And that was an unnecessary push. Carlos Vasquez, who's already been booked as well. Well, surely he has to know that he's on thin ice with the referee after something like that. That could have gotten him sent off on another night. Absolutely no need to go through the back of Isaiah Lee, and he's a bit lucky he's still on the pitch. Certainly another Trinidad and Tobago goal would see this out, but Cuba down to 9 surely would have also put it to bed. But neither have happened yet. Cuba win the ball back again. And it's clipped into the middle, blocked by Alvin Jones. It deflects to Fonsette. And Alvin Jones is not necessarily pleased with the way Carasus has handled the reactions here. Another look. Looks like Alvin Jones got the ball first, although it was very close, and Alvin Jones is saying that Carasus may be making the most of that. Well, 5 minutes plus stoppage time to go here. Can Trinidad and Tobago finish the job? It's another 4-goal thriller between these two. 2-2 last week, 3-1 tonight. Another coming together here. This time the assistant has to step in. It was Casanova for Cuba getting involved. Well, you can see what Trinidad and Tobago are trying to do here. They're trying to take the energy from Cuba out of the game and use up as much time as possible to see this out. Of course, they have to be careful when it comes to time wasting and things like that. That's what the fourth official's job is, along with the referee, to make sure that gets factored in into stoppage time. Have to say, though, on the whole, and you give Cuba credit, we knew they were going to show a lot of fight, even down by 2 goals twice tonight. Trinidad and Tobago have just had a couple of those waves where they've been almost unplayable tonight, and that could be enough to win this out for them. They had about a 20 to 25 minute stretch in the first half, and those 2 goals were a part of it from Gilbert and Jovan Jones. That made it 2-0 at the half. Cuba responded, as we thought they might, in the start of the second half, made it 2-1, but then another 10-minute stretch where Trinidad and Tobago scored again, Real Gil, and then the red card for Cuba, down to 10. Still a chance for the Soca Warriors to put a cherry on top. That's going to be a free kick. It's a free kick for Cuba. Challenge was late from Shannon Gomez. So a free kick for Junior Perez to take. He has to hold up. We're told that Derek King might use his last substitution here. Well, it's Justin Garcia, we're told, who's out. And the man who scored the first goal between these two last time out, he's out there now. Sheldon Bateau will help to anchor things down defensively for Trinidad and Tobago. As this is looped over the top. Shannon Gomez lays it off, and it's just wide from Isaiah Lee. No deflection, it looks like. And it's a goal kick. That could have polished off the points. free kick now for Cuba. And we will now enter the 90th minute. We have to spare a thought for Cuba. If this is the end of the run, it's a very, very tough one to take. They were undefeated in the group heading into the night, but again, they had not won a match, and that, along with the performance tonight, might be what comes back to bite them here. Faint penalty appeals from the Cuba players there. Referee waves them away. There's a player down. It's Tristan Hodge, it looks like, for Trinidad and Tobago. Cuba are getting ready a change as well. Tristan Hodge is at a tough window here, dealing with some bumps and bruises throughout. And when he returns to his club side, Hartford Athletic, they're still in the middle of a playoff chase in the USL Championship. Can't blame him for feeling that one, though. I think his ankle may have been bent there. Got the worst of that challenge. It's worth reminding that Trinidad and Tobago don't have any changes left, and we're into the final 4 minutes of stoppage time. The Soca Warriors are nearly there. And it's nearly curtains for Cuba, unfortunately for them. Have to score 2 goals in stoppage time to revive this, and they're gonna get a free kick. Not a bad start for Yunelis Castillo's group. And Alvin Jones maybe picking a fight to try to use up more clock, although Cuba have retaliated. It's starting to boil over again like it did in the first meeting. Alvin Jones the instigator, but Diego Canasus didn't exactly calm things down either. Michael Camejo has come on for Cuba. He was actually briefly in the middle of that scuffle. Dairon Reyes is out. More time has come off the clock because of that. And that's up to the referee now to keep that in line as far as time wasting is concerned. But we're getting to the point now where this set piece pretty much has to lead to a goal for Cuba to have any chance. Matos has scored once already. Could he facilitate another? Or maybe score another? Well, neither in the end. And that'll leave Cuba with 2 minutes left. Another look, decent shape on it, but Fonset was never troubled. And he'll clear it upfield as we get towards the dying embers. It's been another wonderful occasion of Concacaf Nations League play. It really has been. The crowd's been a huge part of it tonight. And it really felt like it fueled Trinidad and Tobago during their best moments tonight. They flowed along with the beat of the drum and with the roar of the crowd throughout. And Cuba, we knew they were going to bring the fight, the tenacity. It looks like they're going to run short on time and, frankly, short on goals. Coming together there, Alvin Jones fouling Reyes. It's going to be a free kick for Cuba. A little over a minute left, maybe a smidge of time after that. It's the extension of the arm from Alvin Jones that leads to the foul. Oh, Nicaragua have taken the lead against French Guiana. That would mean that Nicaragua would finish 3rd, Trinidad and Tobago 4th. They're both off to the Gold Cup prelims. They stay in League A. Cuba and French Guiana would be relegated to League B. French Guiana have clearly also given it a go tonight, but it looks like it might not work out in their favor. Matos to take. Clips this into the penalty area. Not sure anybody got a touch. Trinidad and Tobago through Isaiah Lee. Try to get this out of harm's way. Tristan Hodge was booked, by the way, in the middle of all that scrum. Fonset sends it upfield. 4 minutes are up, but a free kick for Cuba will extend the game at least a little bit longer. And Trinidad and Tobago are nearly over the line. Gomez stuck a hip out. That's what allows the game to continue on for a few more seconds. Seuss trying to set this up, and unless the referee finds time from elsewhere, this will likely be, at best, for Cuba, a consolation if they can score. Goes right towards goal, touched away by Bateau. Trinidad and Tobago will bring it upfield, and they'll have a chance to break. Referee had the whistle to his lips, and that's that. Full time here in Trinidad and Tobago. The Soca Warriors avoid relegation, and they are into the Gold Cup prelims. They maintain their League A status in the Concacaf Nations League. They beat Cuba by 3-1, and unfortunately for the visitors, Cuba are relegated to League B, and they will miss out as well on a potential late rally into the quarterfinals on top of that. Trinidad and Tobago get the job done thanks to goals from Dante Gilbert, Jovan Jones, and Real Gil, all leading the way. Yastier Matos gave Cuba a real jolt at the start of the second half, but the Gil third goal and then the red card for Karel Perez sort of led us to believe that that was going to be that for Cuba, and that turned out to be the outcome. We will hear from both teams in a moment, and then we'll have highlights and stats to finish it up. Trinidad and Tobago win it here over Cuba by 3-1.
We're speaking here with captain of Cuba. A disappointing result for you. What are your reactions?
Un resultado decepcionante. ¿Cuál es tu reacción?
Estamos molestos porque creo que nosotros mismos regalamos el juego porque cometimos 3 errores y 3 errores que nos costó el gol. Creo que nosotros sabíamos lo que venía, pero bueno, cuando tienes un equipo joven, estas cosas pasan, pero creo que yo estoy feliz con los muchachos porque a pesar de que somos un equipo joven, supieron jugar hasta el final, luchar, y ahora que no queda otra que esperar noviembre al repechaje y seguir adelante. Esto es un proceso y nosotros tenemos que afrontarlo de la mejor manera.
What was different in this match from the previous game?
¿Cuál fue la diferencia entre este partido y el juego previo en Cuba?
Nada, como dije, 3 errores y 3 errores que nos costó. Creo que no hubo tanta la diferencia, más allá de que quizás ellos pudieron tener un poco más la pelota, pero fueron 3 errores prácticamente nosotros. Tuvimos un primer tiempo muy errático que regalábamos muchas pelotas, entonces creo que eso es propio de nosotros mismos, los culpables. Entonces, a raíz de eso, ahí se dio la derrota.
Thank you. Gracias.
Gracias.
Spur them onto the victory. Give us your reaction.
No, well, it's always an honor to play for the red, white, and black. I mean, it was an honor to score my first goal today. Yeah, all thanks to the boys, Nathaniel James for the assist, and yeah, we're staying in League A.
This result was very important at home, as you mentioned. It kept us in League A. What was different in this game from a week ago, a few days ago in Santiago?
No, well, we had a draw in the last game, and I mean, we need to get a result in this game, and the boys just come out and give our best foot, and we get the result.
How did you feel scoring your first goal, and what does this do for Trinidad Tobago now as we look ahead to what's to come, Gold Cup qualifiers, World Cup qualifiers?
Well, I don't think the emotion of scoring my first goal really hit me yet, but I mean, it was an honor to start the boys off with the first goal, and going into the World Cup qualifiers, we need to try and make the next World Cup, and it's only up from now.
Good luck, thank you.
Thank you.
Sean St. Jacques back here with you one more time tonight to take you through the full-time highlights between the rematch between Trinidad and Tobago and Cuba. This was a Concacaf Nations League League A Group B finale, and it was a game that got out to a brilliant start for the Soca Warriors. You just heard from him, Dante Gilbert, scoring his first goal for his country. What a better time than this to get it in front of the Dwight, Yorke Stadium support. And it gave Trinidad and Tobago a brilliant start to this one tonight. It came in the 13th minute, and it kind of gave a little bit of a lift, a little bit of a weight off of the Trinidad and Tobago players. They played so well after that, especially in the first half. And it led to a second goal in the 28th minute. Great finish here by Jovan Jones, who scores 2 goals in as many games in less than a week's time against Cuba. That really gave everyone a lift inside the building, and Trinidad and Tobago would dominate the half out from there. And they'd have a 2-0 lead at the half, and it could have been worse, to be fair, for Cuba. There was other moments, other chances, and Raiko Rosarena made some saves. That yellow card worth keeping in mind. Karel Perez picking up a yellow card there. Nathaniel James nearly made it 3-0 twice at the end of the second half. Again, Rosarena denying him both times. And then here, magic wand and some pixie dust from Jovan Jones. He nearly scored off of that. That was his last major contribution. He'd leave with an injury at the start of the second half. Cuba, after a halftime team talk, really started to get things going. There's the Jovan Jones injury. Didn't look too serious initially, but he couldn't continue for Derek Kingside. That sort of gave a little bit of momentum to Cuba, and they started to create chances. They had no shots, period, through the first 45 minutes. That was their first shot, a goal from Yasnier Matos to make it 2-1 in the 62nd minute, and that, seemingly at the time, changed everything and put Cuba within a goal of keeping themselves in League A and possibly in the Gold Cup prelims as well. But then the man who replaced Jovan Jones, Real Gil, rounds the goalkeeper and re-established the 2-goal cushion just 3 minutes later in the 65th to make it 3-1 to Trinidad and Tobago and restore order, really, inside the Dwight Yorke Stadium. That gave Derek King's side the boost they needed to go on and see this out. Although I must say, this didn't help Cuba's chances either. James dragged down by Karel Perez. He had already been booked. He received a second yellow and a red card sending off. That put Cuba down to 10 men with just over 15 minutes to play. Full time from there, and Trinidad and Tobago keep their League A status. Full-time stats look like this. Again, Cuba's only shot on target was their only goal, but the Real Gil third goal for Trinidad and Tobago restored order, and Trinidad and Tobago were very clinical in the end in a 3-1 win, again, that keeps Trinidad and Tobago in League A and puts them in the Gold Cup prelims. For Cuba, they were unbeaten into this game. They're now relegated back down to League B. Another wonderful night of Concacaf Nations League play. By the way, French Guiana also relegated Nicaragua into the Gold Cup prelims. For our entire crew, I'm Sean St. Jacques. We do say so long from Trinidad and Tobago. It's the night for the Soca Warriors to celebrate.